So I was reading through the some of the comments in our client Slack, as I do, kind of mining for problems and challenges and obstacles and looking for ideas. And ultimately seeing where people are stuck and how we can help them get unstuck. And I came across this comment from a client of ours who is doing really well, frankly, executing on the program very effectively and getting great results, but in getting those results, uncovering some tension, which is typical. And her statement in this post that she put up on Slack, expressing some of the progress she's been making, was, I'm working on my sales mindset. I've been struck by how often we as a group express concerns about being seen as selling, and I think I have to actually lean into the fact that I sell things in order for me to get over this. For me, this translates into an internal dialogue of, hey, name, of course you have services to sell. That's literally the only way to own a business. By the way, every single customer who has bought your services has come back for more. So I thought, let's have a conversation about selling.
Dirty word, apparently.
Shouldn't be. And I think
but
that's hopefully the transformation we're going to take people through on this episode, is rid sales and selling of all the baggage and negative connotations that you've associated it with. And perhaps let's start there. Why do we think of it negatively? Why do we associate all this baggage with the idea and process of sales and selling?
Yeah, I think this comes from so many people out there selling for the sake of selling, right? Not selling something that's useful or that's going to help you or that, has a good reason to be the thing that they're promoting. But, the notion of someone whose job is a salesman, right? Who is just out there pushing whatever it is that's put in front of them. I think when people consider themselves selling, they feel like they somehow need to put themselves into those shoes. And that's not what we're talking about at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the negative experiences you've had with people selling things that have kind of ruined it for everybody, right? It's the used car salesman, it's the pushy door-to-door person, it's the telephone calls you continue to receive, right? That are just completely irrelevant to you, all because someone's trying to sell something. And I think we've kind of like attributed that to the process and to the activity. Like if somebody's trying to sell something, bad things happen. Therefore, we shouldn't try to sell things, or we'll look like those people.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we hear clients all the time saying, I don't want to seem salesy, right? I want to make connection. I want to close the deal, but I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to sell, as if selling means pushing yourself on somebody.
Yeah. And consultants are a funny bunch in this regard. I think, and I had the very candid conversation with our client group about this on one of our calls. I think most consultants would, or see rather, sales and selling, and I'm using sales and selling in the broadest context, including marketing. It's the process of going out there and securing new business. I think most consultants see this as a necessary evil. They don't want to be doing it. If they could wave a magic wand, they would prefer to have deals fall in their lap with no effort whatsoever of their own, with not having to go out there and sell anything. The deals just fall and they do the work. And, in fact, we hear people who say this and come to us and say, look, I've never had to do any marketing or selling. Deals have kind of fallen into our lap. And they say it with like a degree of honor. Like, look at me. I'm so great. I'm so smart. I haven't had to do these things. And now, although they don't say this, but the message is kind of like, now I need to lower myself.
Yeah.
And actually sell something. And I'm not too happy about it, but it's necessary evil. So I'll engage in the process. And guess what, folks? Dirty little secret. The clients of ours who do the best are the ones who embrace, what I'll call an ethical selling framework. not the ones who see sales and selling as a necessary evil, something dirty, something icky. They do it and they have to go wash their hands after, take a shower. They don't do so well. I thought we'd take the time today to talk through, what do I mean by an ethical selling framework? What are the pillars of an ethical selling framework? How can you feel good about sales and selling? How can we rewire how you think about that process?
And before we go there, I think there's one other layer that I want to call out, which is when we're talking about consultants, we're also talking about the notion of selling yourself. And I think that adds an even greater level of discomfort. I'm not selling this car that you can decide that you like or don't like. I'm the one putting myself forward, right? It's about me. It's about my capability. It's about my personality. It's about, all of those things. And that, people are so uncomfortable with that it also creates just a resistance. And then the immediate response is, well, no. I don't want to be the salesperson. And so it's also worth just recognizing that, what you're selling still is your product, right? It's your offer, it's your solution, but it's inextricably connected to you, which means you need to maybe work through a little bit more to get to a place where you can feel comfortable, or at least not uncomfortable, doing the right thing, which is what we're going to talk about, which is, in fact, introducing people to what you do.
Well, what you just said is a whole podcast episode in and of itself, right? Because most consultants don't have that external articulation of a service offering outside of themselves. They are the offer, they are the service, they are selling themselves. And yeah, that can be really difficult when you have an externally articulated offer, solution, what we call a results mechanism. Then you're selling that thing, not yourself. That makes it, infinitely easier in many ways. So let's jump into the 4 pillars of ethical scaling. The first pillar is genuine belief in your value. Genuine belief in your value. So here's what I mean by this. You've got to fundamentally believe that if you work with the right clients and you do the right things and you follow the process and they engage with you and they participate and they do their part and they hold up their end of the bargain, that there's going to be some tangible results and outcomes at the back of that work. That's important for a couple of reasons. The first is they're not going to buy from you unless that's apparent, right? Because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for tangible results and outcomes. And so you have to have that belief even just to be effective at selling, but also for your own, ethical, moral comfort. You're not going to feel terribly about closing a deal or trying to close a deal when you know in your bones that it's the right thing to do for the prospect and they're going to benefit from the work. They're going to experience some kind of a tangible result or outcome or transformation. You're doing them a favor when that's your belief, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think it's worth asking yourself the question, right? If they walk away and don't do this, are they going to be worse off, right? Is it going to be a problem? And if the answer is, they'll be fine, then you're probably right. You shouldn't be selling to them, right? Like maybe you're raising an actual caution that you are mismatched in their problem and your solution. But for the most part, certainly if you've done the work ahead of that, you're talking to the right people, you've dug around and found out what it is that they're dealing with, the answer to the question will be, you know what? They don't want to walk away. That it would be a real problem if I didn't do everything in my power to help them resolve this challenge.
And I kind of object to this notion of I won the deal.
Yes.
I won the client.
Agreed.
As if when you close a deal, you won something. When we really reflect on what's taking place here, yes, you've now contracted to work together. And yes, you're going to earn a fee and you're going to work with this client. And this fee is what? Over the course of your career, how significant is the fee? Over the course of all the clients you'll work with through your career, how many clients, like this is one of how many? This is a drop in the bucket. It's a gig. It's all it is. It's a gig. You get to go and do some work and help this client achieve a transformation. But for them, it is far more significant.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who, when it's all said and done, you're going to walk away with what? Money. And hopefully a case study or testimonial. They're going to walk away with a tangible result, outcome, and transformation that's going to have consequences right? There's a first degree consequence or first order consequence, second order, third order, fourth order consequence. There's a cascading effect of consequences here that they're going to benefit from as a result of your work. So who won the deal, really? Who's the real winner here in the transaction?
Yeah, it's another case of, and we talk about this in the sales conversation as well, right? About getting you and your prospective client on the same side of the problem. It's not you against them. It's not you, pushing them into something and then pushing back. It's not that kind of negotiation. It's really about how do we together get you heading down the right path.
So that's the first pillar, right? You've got to genuinely believe that there's some real tangible outcomes available to the client through your work together. And that's hopefully going to make you feel way more comfortable because it's not about you. It's about them and what they want and what they need and their commitment to achieving those goals with your help. Pillar 2 is this idea of solving actual problems, which is kind of obvious, right? Like, yeah, we've got to solve real, tangible problems. But what I mean by this is don't solve the problems that you think clients have or that you want them to have or that you're going to project onto them. Solve their actual problems. And the way I think about this is we've all seen politicians do their thing in media interviews where the journalist will ask a question and the politician will often creatively and often not creatively at all deflect and go back to their talking points, right? Because they've been given from their media consultants certain talking points, like bring it back to these issues, like that's their platform. So whatever question you give them, they're going to bring it back to their talking points. And you hear this enough times and it's like, well, you're really listening to the question? Are you actually paying attention, or just bringing, or is this an exercise of, of deflection ultimately to your talking points? And a lot of consultants do that. Is they're in discovery calls and they're listening, but they're not really listening. They're listening for things that they can use to justify the thing that they want to sell. Oh, they said this. Now I can sell them that thing. So they're trying to find evidence to pitch their solution, not actually paying attention to what the real problem is the client's professing. And they get in all kinds of trouble doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we spend so much time talking to our clients about talking to their clients, right? Talking to their prospective clients. And this is that all over again. As a consultant, you are trained to listen, right? Like when you are actually solving the problem, that's part of your job. It's the biggest part of your job. Listening, investigating, understanding what's going on. And it's astounding how many people try to shut that off during the business development process rather than using it to their advantage.
And this is why we recommend it in the discovery process of the sales process. And we teach this as part of our diagnostic selling framework. It should not be your intention to close a deal or to win a deal or to sign a contract. It should be strictly your intention to understand the client's situation and their challenge and their problem and their pain and their plight and what they're trying to achieve and all of that context. And only if there seems to be a desire and willingness on their part to engage in some kind of a solution do you take them down the path. But if you go into the conversation thinking, I'm going to close a deal, well, you're not really paying attention to what they're saying. You're looking for reasons and opportunities to close a deal.
Exactly.
Third pillar is honest representation. Honest representation. And this is where I think consultants can really set themselves apart, because there's tons of consultants out there who make really big, bold promises and try to downplay any of the risks. And this is frankly my big problem with guarantees and the like. And we're seeing a lot more guarantee strategies and tactics in the consulting market where folks are guaranteeing things that they can't guarantee. Folks are guaranteeing against risks that are impossible to completely mitigate. And a sophisticated client sees this and understands that it's not really an accurate representation of what's possible. And so a good way to set yourself apart and feel good about it in the process is to be candidly honest and ruthlessly honest with prospective clients about what it's going to require, what it's going to take to get the results you're looking for, what will be expected of them, what risks we're going to face, how we'll mitigate those risks together. The more honest and transparent you are about what you can do and what you can control, what you can't control, the more trust you're going to build with your prospective client.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been in that position where somebody is just promising the world, right? And your initial thought is just, sure, yeah, right. Like, not a chance that's happening. And so, even letting your client know that although you are exceptionally confident that you can solve the problem, there are risks, right? That, there are areas that if A doesn't happen, then B will be a challenge. And B will be a challenge, but also I know how to kind of get us around that. That's a realistic expectation that they can follow through, right? They can sort of imagine working through. If somebody were to take you at your word that you are the superhero that's going to come in and just, wave your magic, I'm mixing analogies, wave your magic wand and everything will be better, then that's probably not a client you want to work with either, because they're not going to be prepared to invest and contribute in the way that you're going to need them to as a really solid consulting engagement.
A really good question that we get often from clients is, if I work with you guys, 90-day pipeline sounds great. What could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Where does this go off the rails? When clients struggle, where do they struggle? And then guess what my answer is? It's not, oh, no one struggles. It doesn't really go wrong. That's not believable. I tell them honestly and transparently, here are the common sticking points. And here's how we address those sticking points. We have obviously solutions to those sticking points and those challenges because we've seen them a few times, so that we have ways of helping clients get over those things. But here's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does from the client's perspective is it builds trust, because they are not naive. You should always assume intelligent, critically thoughtful client. They understand that whatever you're helping them achieve is not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be challenging. There will be obstacles. There will be roadblocks. And if you can project or predict what those obstacles are going to be, they end up trusting you more than if you gloss over them like, yeah, no, it'll be easy. No problem.
Yeah. And, to build on that, they aren't coming to you because they have an easy problem to solve, right? They're coming to you because it's complicated. And if you try to then reframe it as something that is simple, right? That, any dum-dum could fix, you're not respecting all the work that they've done to get to the point that they're at either. These are not folks who are just, sitting around doing nothing. They have tried. Everyone's trying before they reach out and hire a consultant. So there's something here as well about just, respecting what they have gone through to get to where they are and meeting them there.
And the fourth pillar, last but not least, is respecting client agency. Respecting client agency. In other words, not giving them agency, because they have agency, whether you like it or not. Right? It's their decision. And you could ignore that and try to force a decision and try to back them into a corner and try to pressure them into doing something. And you can guess how that's going to go, right? Because the old expression that holds true is no one likes being sold to, but everyone loves to buy.
Mm-hmm.
People like to buy on their terms. And so not only is this all these pillars, frankly, are just great sales strategies. They will help you close more deals, and they will help you feel better about the selling process. And this is absolutely one of them. Give your clients, your prospects, the information that they need to make intelligent, smart decisions, and then let them make intelligent, smart decisions without trying too hard to close the deal. One of the reasons why this is very important is because you cannot want the outcome for the client more than they want it for themselves. They've got to be motivated to pursue the goal, solve the problem, get the result, because at the end of the day, they're going to be your partners in this initiative. And if they're not in it all the way, it's not going to make for a very fruitful engagement.